Hello and welcome back to the Azerbaijan YouTube channel. It is Harry here, and today it is time for the 7th installment in the Nation Roulette series, with our 3rd trip and 2nd consecutive one into Europe with the country of Montenegro. If you missed any of the episodes thus far, a link to the playlist is linked down below in the description, and whilst you're there, hit the like button if you enjoy this video because it really does help me out and I genuinely value it so much, and subscribe while you're at it. But for now, here is an investigation into the footballing scene in the country of Montenegro. Now, Montenegro is quite a newly independent nation in not just the footballing scene, but also the world as a whole, given that it was part of Yugoslavia and then affiliated with Serbia from 1992 until 2006. However, I might as well discuss the fate of Montenegrin clubs in Yugoslav competitions until they gained autonomy, because otherwise this video would be 4 minutes long. Montenegro became unified with Serbia in 1918, formally becoming a part of Yugoslavia in 1922, and in that very year, a league was established in the kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, as well as in the kingdom of Yugoslavia, but it remained solely consistent of Montenegrin sides. Bizarrely though, it would take up the 3rd level of Yugoslav football from 1922 until 1930, and then the 2nd tier from 1930 until 1940, even though there was no promotion or relegation between the two leagues above and below. And there would be 2 seasons per year, one of which took place in spring and the other in the autumn, up until 1934, when the league became annual. The Montenegrin FA, whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce for the life of me, but it will be on screen right now for you to try and pronounce at home, was established in 1931, 9 years after the league's inception, and it would, of course, fall under the control of the Yugoslav FA. There were some organisational problems with the league, as despite around 105 clubs being extant at some point in the country by 1941, many of them had already gone under, meaning there must have been a load of headaches for the league's organisers. In 1940, war put an end to the league structure which I mentioned earlier, and when it returned in 1945, football in the region became unified, meaning that Montenegrin clubs, as well as the other Yugoslav countries, would form a part of the Yugoslavia football pyramid. The leagues would be region-wide for the top 2 divisions, meaning that every single country would be represented in either the 1st or the 2nd tier of the Yugoslav football pyramid, before the 3rd tier and below would see the league split off into the separate countries. So in line with this, the Montenegrin Regional League, barring in 1950 and near the fall of Yugoslavia between 1988 and 1992, would lie 2 leagues below the top. However, Montenegro would be one of the least represented in the Yugoslav First League, with it being dominated by teams from Serbia and Croatia, with Bosnia also featuring relatively prevalently. No Montenegrin team would ever win the Yugoslav First League from 1946 until 1992, and only 2 teams would actually take part in it, with FK Budućnost featuring in 27 of its 46 seasons, and FK Sutjeska in just 9, and neither would finish in the top 3. By 1992 though, the region had descended into chaos, with Slovenia, Croatia and what we now know as North Macedonia had announced their succession from the Federation, and it led to civil war. In the meantime, Serbia and Montenegro created a new constitution, and with it a new federal republic, which was entitled the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia in April 1992. As a result of this conflict, Yugoslavia were barred from entry into Euro 1992, and Denmark would take their place and go on to win the entire tournament. Clearly a case of what might have been. The Football League, which I'm well aware is not of paramount importance in moments of horrendous conflict, was subsequently weakened, as all of the countries who had declared independence would no longer take part in it, meaning the clubs from Serbia and Montenegro, who were closest to going up, would now take their places in the top flight. This led to a somewhat greater Montenegrin representation, with 7 clubs taking part in at least 1 season in the First League during its 14-year span, although this doesn't say much, as the league consisted of either 18 or 20 clubs every season, so it was still dominated by Serbian sides, and once again, no Montenegrin side would win the league during this era of unification. In June 1999, a peace accord was finally reached, bringing an end to the violence in the region, but there were growing calls for Montenegrin independence, and in 2003, an agreement was reached which removed the name Yugoslavia from the region, and it became known as Serbia-Montenegro, with the two still formally unified, but each having greater autonomy. There would be a legislation put in place though, barring any Montenegrin independence referendum for at least 3 years, but at the earliest possible opportunity, such a vote was called for, and on the 21st of May 2006, Montenegro surpassed the 55% threshold needed to secede from Serbia by just 2,300 votes. On the 3rd of June 2006, 8 days before their joint World Cup campaign would begin against the Netherlands, Serbia, the EU and the UN all formally recognised Montenegro as an independent nation in its own right. They nonetheless soldiered on into the World Cup as a joint side, although after their group stage exit, Montenegro would disband from their neighbours permanently, applying for UEFA and FIFA membership by the end of the month. They achieved both in 2007, meaning that their first attempt to qualify for a major tournament on their own was for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Their first match, meanwhile, was a 2-1 win against Hungary on the 24th of March 2007, with their record win, a 6-0 thrashing of San Marino, coming in 2012, and their record defeat, a 7-0 humbling by England in their 1000th game, coming in November last year. They are yet to qualify for a major international tournament, with their closest attempt to date coming in their qualification for the 2012 European Championships in Poland and Ukraine, as they finished second in their group behind England, but ended up losing their playoff match 3-0 in aggregate to the Czech Republic. Even though they've put up decent showings in their last two World Cup qualification attempts, they still finished third in their 2014 and 2018 groups, missing out on the playoffs by just one place on both counts, although their latest European Championship qualification attempt saw them finish last in their group, failing to win a single game. Their record appearance holder is Fatos Besirai, who has won 74 caps since 2009, and their highest goal scorer, and perhaps their most well-known player alongside Mirko Vucinic and Stefan Savic, is ex-Man City, Fiorentina and Sevilla striker Stefan Jovetic, who has hit 27 goals on the international stage. For the time being, Montenegro is still a fledgling force in international football, and their national team was overshadowed in recent times after England players revealed that they were subject to racist chants by a section of their fans during a game in March 2019. The Montenegrin First League, entitled the Prva CFL, don't ask me what CFL stands for, because yet again, I cannot pronounce it, but the words might be somewhere around here, was set up in 2006 as a 12-team tournament, but in 2017, the league was reduced in size to contain just 10 teams. Much like in the last country we profiled, who was Finland, the champions go into the Champions League first qualifying round, with the cup winners enter the Europa League equivalent, and second and third place in the league going into the UEFA Conference League first qualifying round as of next season. Last place is automatically relegated, and 8th and 9th enter a relegation playoff with the two teams who finish second and third in the Montenegrin second league to decide who gains those final spots in the league for the next season. The reigning champions, FK Budućnost, are the joint most successful club in the country with 4 titles since 2006, and they've only finished outside of the top 3 once. They hold that record alongside Sudjeska, and if you can recall, they were the only 2 Montenegrin clubs to take part in the Yugoslav First League. Only one team has ever done the double, and intriguingly enough, it was neither of the 2 sides I've just mentioned, but instead, that accolade goes to FK Ruda, who did so in 2010, although they've only won the league once since, with it coming in 2015. But that just about concludes today's video on the footballing scene in Montenegro. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you get told by YouTube, who are always very reliable, whenever I upload a video straight away. But thank you very much for watching in any case, and until next time, I'll see you then.